So, first order of business, as usual, is the next call. So, in a couple of weeks, we'll have. I will be on the road, as like similar to today, but still, it would. I think that I can make it. I believe that I can make it. For folks on the call, a couple of weeks from now, April 11th, on like going back to Thursday. Will that work?
That doesn't work for us.
Could we do Friday instead?
We could, yeah. So for the next call, Friday, April 12th. Does that work for people?
Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend, but don't block on me.
Okay. Ryasuke?
Yeah, April 12th on Friday, right?
Yeah.
That works for me.
Works. Okay, cool. So let's set it on for April 12th. I will move the meeting around. The other administrative order of business, some people in the group feel that we should see each other more. So in the past, we used to run face-to-face meetings mid-year, closer to what used to be VelocityConf. We stopped that in the last year or two, but we can pick that tradition back up if everyone are able and willing. For me personally, it would probably. So I don't like. What do folks think of the concept in general? So have a face-to-face meeting somewhere, probably in the Bay Area, as it's easier for most folks to be there. Around somewhere between May and June, probably.
So I think this year's TPUC's happening in September. So maybe June might be getting too close to TPUC, right? Because it's only next 3 months.
Yeah, so from my personal perspective, I'll be in the Bay Area on the week of May 6th. So ideally for me, it could be somewhere around that week. So it's going to be a busy week, but maybe Friday this week, so May 10th, or earlier the week just after that.
Sure, that works.
I happen to be in the Bay Area the week of the 13th. So
Okay.
that'll work for me too.
Oh, I meant the week before that. Sorry. I would be taking some vacations that time, but hopefully Alex can join on behalf of me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I will, like, we haven't yet run this by other folks. So yeah, I will send an email to the list, basically asking for those like potential dates. And I mean, it works for me if it's somewhere close by to that week, but if it's, you know, a few weeks after that, I can go back and forth. So yeah,
Also, quick question. I'm assuming we're talking about like a 1 day, full day event.
that is what I had in mind.
Okay.
Does that work for folks, or is there a preference for 2 days? I think 2 days may be a bit much, but like in the past we did a 1 day, and it was.
In the past it was 1 day kind of immersive. It was always packed, but we like do a full day and then have dinner, and I think it was very productive in the past.
Yeah.
What's the format been in the past of that full day?
It was similar to how we run TPAC. I guess we do a call for topics. Really, it's a opportunity for us to surface kind of key themes that we ought to be working on for the year ahead. So we can kind of queue up and identify the main deliverables that we want to tackle at TPAC. So we can have then like 3 or 4 months to work on that, so we come prepared for TPAC.
Yeah, and generally there were, so it's a mix of like discussions on what we should be doing, as well as a mix of presentations of with the new proposals and tackling of hard to tackle issues that require some face-to-face time.
In the past, we've also biased towards design, like new features, and exploring that. So bug bash can be done asynchronously in smaller groups, and if we're getting everybody in the same room, it's better to have kind of open-ended discussions.
Okay, but what I'm hearing is that folks are generally favorable, and we can so I'll send an email to the group with potential dates and see what people say, and and converge on a date that works well for most folks. Does that make sense?
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, and with that, let's talk about performance timelines. So, Nicholas, do you want to talk
Yep.
about the issues and the PRs?
So issue 119 is that WebIDL says that any dictionary which does not have any required member has to be an optional parameter, which means that in our observe for performance observer, the dictionary must be marked optional. I believe that change would only be changing the IDL, because observe already throws an error if two of the members are both omitted, with those being the entry types member, which should give you the array of entry types, and the type member, which you should use for a single entry type. So I believe the issue can be solved by just adding that optional in the IDL. So that's the PR basically.
Okay.
Yeah, that was me who suggested that. So it helps us.
Do we need to update tests or anything around it?
I'm not 100% sure. I think no, because like I said, the behavior should be the same. We could add a test where you don't pass the parameter, and then you would get an error.
Well,
Other than that, should be fine.
So it was my understanding that the only tests in there that are going to have to change are the length of the function itself.
Oh, right. So the ideal harness test will change automatically once the PR lands, because the ideal harness test is based on the spec itself. So once that changes, then the test itself will change.
Now, when you pass no parameter to a function that expects a dictionary, it should pass an empty default dictionary by default. Is that the way? Do I understand the spec correctly?
I think so, yeah. I think that's how it works.
So that would be then, so in that case, then the spec says that the observe method should return a syntax error and not a type error. because neither entry nor entry types is specified.
Right.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yep.
Okay. So sounds like we have agreement on the solution here. From my perspective, it looks fine. So I will.
Yeah, thanks to everyone. Thank you for picking that up so quickly and addressing it. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Cool.
So the other two issues are related. They are about supported entry types. The first issue, 117, is saying that we should cache the frozen array instead of returning a newly built frozen array every time the attribute getter is called. The solution is to, I think the solution is to cache the frozen array per environment, so per window or worker. I sent a PR for it, but apparently I may have gotten the wording wrong, so I'll need someone to help me with that. Basically, we want to cache it per environment. My proposal is to just say that other specifications determine the contents of that frozen array. And in other specifications, you would say this frozen array must contain this string. Yeah, so the PR is not finished. I haven't looked at the comments by Boris on the PR, so I'll need to look at those. But does that general idea make sense to people?
Makes sense to me. Yeah, I need to review the PR as well. I haven't yet, but yeah.
Yeah, this also came out of the testing that I was working on with. So thanks for helping.
This is about using the same object, right? No, I don't know why caching is kept being mentioned, but like this is about returning same array object, right?
Well, that's what caching means, right? What do you mean? What
I don't understand what that. I mean, there's such a thing as a caching little idea. What I'm asking is, this is about changing to just use same object.
This is about changing the way the attribute getter is defined. So right now, in the specification, it just says return a copy of the list of supported entry types. But since it's an attribute getter and nothing has changed, it should return the same object every time. So if you called it twice, it should return the same object. That's what I'm saying.
This is about, yeah, so that's what I'm asking. This is about simply adding same object, ideal attribute on the supported entry types, right?
No.
Why
So
is
same object. So yes, same object. We will add same object, but that's not the problem. And apparently, same object does not have any guarantees right now. So I'm definitely adding same object, but that's not the main problem. The main problem is simply we don't want to return a copy. So basically, yes, we want the semantics of same object in addition to just adding same object. But like what I'm trying to say is the attribute getter definition is being changed, so it actually returns the same object every time.
So I think the spec wording here is not right. Like, so the same, there's no such a thing as a cached, like, we shouldn't be mentioning cached frozen array and stuff like that. That is not a thing.
So there's an attribute for cached.
Attribute for cached. In the web idea.
There's an extended attribute for cached.
I think people are using the term cached simply to refer to not creating a new
copy of this list. Right, let's stop doing that. Let's let's start using WebIDL terminology. Like what? I don't think there's such a thing as a cached ID attribute. Cached is like a caching attribute is not a concept of IDL. We should like not use that kind of concept. That is just not correct wording.
So what would be the correct wording?
It needs to be that there's a single object associated with each interface that we will return.
To just remove the word cached.
Yeah, just let's get rid of the cache.
Yeah,
sure,
I can do that.
Yeah, I understand that's how like some browser engine may implement it. Like this, but such an implementation detail shouldn't creep into specification, right? Like point.
It's not an implementation detail. It's just stating the fact that it is the same object being returned every time.
Right, but the way
not an implementation detail. It's
the way browser implements such a not the cache, right? Like caching is not the only way one could implement such a behavior. So we should not say something that.
So, Ryosuke, if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that we should say that the object is like we have that object that contains that list. It's tied to the environment settings object, probably, and then we return that object directly, rather than return a cached copy of it. Is that what you?
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, so my main complaint about this current wording of spec is that this refers to this concept of caching, but such a concept doesn't exist in the WebIDL, right? That's not a thing we should be talking about.
Okay, that sounds like a.
Yeah, I mean, I'll remove the word cached.
Yeah, that sounds like a simple issue to resolve. I'll. So, Nicholas, you said that the PR is still waiting on some, like, there's feedback from Boris that needs to be addressed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I'll have to read the feedback and...
Okay, and I will also review it myself, and Ryosuke, if you could also review the PR, and if you have any comments beyond just, the removal of the word cached, yeah, that'd be awesome.
So that PR should also help in fixing the next issue, which is about being context aware, because since we have one frozen array context with worker, then that would make it easier for other specifications to specify the contents of each frozen array depending on the context.
Okay.
So that should also help fix that issue as well.
Yeah, because I saw that Charlie posted a PR, but it conflicts heavily with your PR. But yeah, maybe that behavior will just fall out of the definition of the array based on the environment settings object. That's what you have in mind, or
yeah, yep.
Okay, cool.
He's also using the relevant global object, which seems to be Boris's complaint, so I'm not sure. Maybe someone who has knowledge about what the right word there is can chime in.
Yeah, I'll review and see what's a better definition there should be. Okay. Okay, and I think that once we solve all those issues from a performance timeline perspective, we'll be good.
You mean for republishing L2?
For republishing L2, let me see if we only have those as issues. And in terms of tests, Will, I saw that you posted some some relevant tests there that you basically commented on the issue that you have fixed them. Do you know if that has already landed in WPT FYI or not yet? Will? Will, can you hear me? So regarding the tests, do you know if they landed already in WPT FYI or not yet? What's the... Oh. I think he got disconnected. Yeah, 'cause
They did comment saying that those were the outstanding issues for them to have clean tests.
Yeah.
So
okay, so it's likely that we'll have. Okay. Hey, Will?
Sorry, I got kicked out of the meeting.
Okay.
Uh,
No worries. So do you think, like, in terms of tests, I saw that you commented that you fixed a bunch of them. I don't see that it has landed yet in WPT FYI, but that's predictable. So we expect that once that fix lands, everything will be green on the Firefox side?
the only things that will be left are the performance mark. We have not done performance mark yet.
yeah, for some reason, since I think one of the tests includes the performance mark, and that one is from user timing L3, I think that's kind of independent from.
Yep. So if there's no performance mark, then as I ran with the patches included, I ran the test on WPT today, and with the exception of the tests that we will have to change because of the optional parameter, we should be green on everything else.
Okay. That's
And then
awesome.
once the test update will be ready.
Okay, that is awesome. So, Ilya from a
I actually sent you. Sorry, I sent you an email earlier today where we do have one issue with one of the tests still potentially timing out, but if we just had a one-on-one meeting for a few minutes and talked about that, I think we could square it away.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Ilya, from a process perspective, once everything is green and happy, what's the, like, can we conclude now that once all that lands, we'll send out, we will publish the spec as a CR L2, or is that something that we want to determine in the next call? Ilya?
Sorry, I'm on mute and talking.
Oh, okay.
What I was saying is, assuming what Will said is correct, that once the tests land, the Firefox implementation is green, then we have 2. So I think that's fine. We can go ahead. We don't need to block on user timing L3. So we can submit, we can republish the CR for performance timeline.
Okay, cool. So yeah,
unless anyone objects to that.
I don't hear any
Going once,
objections.
going twice, we're good. Okay.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so I think we will do this by mail. I don't see a reason to wait for the next call for this once everything is green and happy. Okay, cool. And so let's move to resource timing.
Can I mention one thing I just noticed in the performance timeline about the issue about supported entry types? I think I just realized that the current PR says relevant global object, but without specifying which with respect to what object. So I think we have to specify that. Like you can't, like when you say global object, we have to specify global object of what. It's unclear, right? Like if you, in general, I think if you are calling performance timeline functions, then there are two objects: the one that is associated with the context object, which is the function, and then also the function that is being passed, right? And the global object of those two could be different, so I have to be careful there.
Okay, so is that a comment on the PR that
Yeah,
we
I
need
just
to
left.
fix in the PR, or is that something that we need to fix beyond that PR
No,
in
I think
other
it's the
places?
issue with its wording in the spec.
But
Okay.
the spec also already uses that notion for the relevant performance entry buffer. So we might need to fix that too.
Okay.
Then we probably have to fix that. Yeah. Like, because yeah, we have to. I mean, historically we had bugs like this where we grabbed the wrong global object. Browser would grab whatever the global object they thought they were talking about, right? But they could.
Right. Yep, makes sense.
We care.
Okay, so yeah, so if we have that elsewhere, we probably also want to open an issue to fix that generally. So Ryosuke, can you maybe do that?
I don't know what the other part is though. Where is it?
Okay.
Okay, I'll open it. It's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Okay, and so we're good for performance timeline?
Looks good.
Okay. So let's talk about resource timing, and we have 6 new non-triaged issues that I think we can easily triage them. So starting from the oldest, issue 180. There is a request here, basically requesting access to the IP as well as the URL, so the resolved IP. To me, that sounds like a feature request, and also a feature request that I'm not 100% sure is like. It sounds like something that I would like to pass through security-minded folks.
Sorry, which issue number we're talking about?
Issue 180. Access to the remote address information.
Thanks.
So this issue basically requests access to the IP as part of the resource timing entry in order to, for example, to know which edge server handled the request. That's the use case that is raised here. To me, this sounds like a feature request, so something that we can easily postpone to L3.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, Ilya's comment about exposing privacy, like, this seems not okay. Like, if we expose the IP address, that would... I don't think there's any other way to get the IP address right now.
I agree. So I think this is new information. I think that the server can surface it now with server timing, if they wish to do that. If they don't wish to do that, I don't think that there is currently a way to get that.
Right.
So it seems like, so I don't know if we want to do this or not, but I think that we can easily postpone this to, like, this is not a blocking issue for L2.
I agree, yeah.
Okay.
I think, if anything, this might need something like a special header to allow.
Potentially,
IP address.
yeah. But I think we should, discuss this as part of L3, see how it fits with the other feature requests and where we want to focus efforts. Okay, so 180 is L3. We have exposed JavaScript code caching information, issue 190. That that Matthias opened and I believe presented to the group couple of months back. Again, this sounds like a feature request, so something that can wait for L3.
Right.
Okay. Agreed?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, as I commented on a feature, I think we are doing very different things with the caching, so I don't know if this API service will make much sense for us.
Okay. Okay. That's a valid point. Issue 200. Be a bit more explicit about which sub-resources are to be ignored from style sheets. Nicholas, since you opened it, do you want to...
Yes. I don't remember. Hold on.
Okay, so I can... basically, you describe a scenario there. So currently for cross-origin... if we have a null cores cross-origin style sheet that is then fetching sub-resources, we're supposed to not expose their URLs as part of resource timing. And you're describing a scenario where we have style sheet A downloading style sheet B, which is then downloading a sub-resource, and you're... basically, it's not clear if C should or shouldn't be exposed. So, from my perspective, I think that because if you have style sheet A importing style sheet B, then style sheet B is again a no cores style sheet fetch that is cross origin, and then it shouldn't be exposed. Maybe there's a question here if style sheet B is same origin. That would be... Yeah, in that case, currently we are supposed to expose C, and I'm not sure if that's bad.
Yeah, I think we probably need to hide it, right? I mean, the whole point of opaque resources is that things in that style sheet needs to be open. If we are affecting it,
okay,
then we need there.
Even if those are then same origin resources.
I think wasn't that part of the point of integrating with fetch, that if you break the chain, then everything down from there has to be opaque?
That is a different... Yeah, so that is the cores, that's the way that cores works, and we were talking about making timing allow origin operate similarly, but decided to postpone that to L3. So right now, timing allow origin, if you go cross origin and then go back to same origin, we don't require tau on same origin in order to expose the resource. But here it's a slightly different case, and yeah, I agree that it can, if we will show style like resource C, then that can expose things about what style sheet A is, which is theoretically problematic.
Well, even if we keep the current behavior until we do L3, it might be worth stating that since we're going to change it, right?
Nicholas, what is the current behavior in Chrome implementation?
So I think the current spec is saying that if B is same origin, then you should expose C, even though A is no cross origin. But when we integrate with fetch, I thought the idea was to not expose anything below A. So C in particular would not be exposed. And I think actually Chrome has a bug about this right now, so not worth talking about Chrome behavior, but...
Yeah, this is the only test that is currently read in Chrome is this one. But yeah, I think
Just to, hold on, just to confirm, the current test is testing which behavior?
it's the current test is testing that style sheet B is not exposed. We don't currently have a test for resource C in that scenario.
I see.
And
So it sounds like, based on current discussion, there's general consensus or direction towards we shouldn't expose same origin resources fetched by a cross origin resource. So that's a new test that would need to be added.
yes,
And
a new definition as well, because it's currently not the way that it's defined.
okay,
'Cause-
I think it's somewhat tricky. Yeah, sorry. Somewhat tricky cases if the same resources then fetched by same origin or coarse cross origin resources again. In that case, the browser, I believe, in many cases, like currently, do not refetch the resource, but because of timing at which it was fetched, right, it could be exposed, and it could expose the fact that cross origin resource loaded that resource, and I don't know how to resolve.
Yeah, so caching timing attacks, I think, are like I wouldn't try to resolve that here, but yeah, we can.
Yeah, but I agree. I think this is more of a generic issue with the patch. So maybe in L2 we don't have to go into too much detail, but maybe we just need like some sort of
Yeah, a hand.
at least.
Yeah, I think we may want to hand-wavily say that resource C should not be exposed here, and then add a test to that. But the real definition will require fetch integration from us, and will also require fetch integration from CSS, which
I think fetch that's still super like vague and heavily.
yeah. But
just to clarify, wouldn't it be like a handy definition of this is resources initiated by an opaque resource should not be exposed? Is that generally right?
Not by an opaque resource in general, because we do expose that for JavaScript.
There. Okay, so opaque
it's just for
resource.
CSS. A CSS opaque resource, or I think we define it as a no cores cross origin style sheet fetch with no cores policy. All the sub resources that are fetched as a result of that, including it's all the dependency tree, and we need to figure out some wording on that. Should not be exposed.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a spec update to be made. Will this do we expect this to be a normative change, and do we need to add this test? Will this affect current implementations?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the AI, just I'm writing down the notes here, is to update the spec, add a test for this, and we consider this to be an L2 blocker.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right. Nicholas, does that make sense to you?
Yep. Good.
All right.
Okay. It makes me sad that we have new L2 blockers, but sure. Okay. So moving on to 201, specify tau check for 304 responses. Okay. So.
Right. So at least in Chrome, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, if this is obvious or just something I missed, but we do reuse the tau header from the original resource, so it might be worth spelling that out, that it should be reused. That is, you don't need to include the tau header in the...
Oh, so that you don't need to include tau in the 304 response.
Wait, but no, that doesn't make sense.
I-
Taus are for the request. Never mind. No.
What do you mean?
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, that's the point.
Okay, so we can either say that you should ignore the tau of the previously cached resource. We can say that you have to use it, or that you need to use both, and then like.
What do you mean use both?
If you have tau on the cached resource,
require both?
that or either require both, or you can like, what do we do if they say different things? Do we merge them? Do we?
It would be overwritten. I don't know.
What is the behavior for other HTTP headers in 304 handling?
I don't know.
And so it's worthwhile to see what Cores is doing here, and try to mimic that.
Yep.
Like whatever, ACAO is doing, we probably want to mimic that. Since we're planning on somehow merging with that anyway, so that will require some investigation. I don't know if this is a blocker.
It's funny, I just got an email saying that, course doesn't specify what happens when it's 304.
Oh,
I don't know when, but... Yeah.
Oh, so Cores doesn't specify that either. Okay.
Great.
Well,
So
I'm sure it specifies now, right? Just like, back in time. But let's see, what does that say?
Well, even if it doesn't specify it, we can check what browser implementations are doing, right? So
Yeah, but then it's a slightly
for
larger
sure
project, and I guess the main question is, do we need to block on that or not? And if Cores doesn't specify that case, then it sounds like something that we can live with for now, even though we should definitely figure that out.
Now, if you look at the Fed spec, it mentions about how course is not applied to responses whose status 304, 307. I don't understand what that means, though. Like, what does...
So it sounds like we need to do some research. Maybe we can loop in Anne and a few others to provide some feedback on that thread.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Of course, not applied to responses whose status is 304.
It looks like a 304. Like, if you got this fetch, what is this? HTTP network or fetch, cache fetch 4.5 in a step.
4. Okay.
Yes. Wait a minute. What's going on here? Towards the end of the behavior, there's like a step. Wait. Sorry. Why did I go step again?
Yeah.
Step 7. It says that if the validation flag is set, and then for response status 3 or 4, then update the restore response header using the for response header list. So I think what's happening is probably that we are restoring headers from the original stuff. But
sure. What happens if you have a course header in the 304? Do you just ignore it?
I mean, that's what it appears to be happening here. But the response is set to no, I think, when it's 304. If nobody set a status that is 101, 204, 205, or 304. So that's seems to imply. Like, I don't know. I'm just briefly reading through it.
Yeah,
right? So
yeah. I think we don't wanna
deep
jump.
dive into.
Yeah. I agree that this is something that we need to specify. It sounds like it's something that is. We need to see what course is doing and do the
Right.
same. If this is something that is well defined in cores, then we can probably do a quick follow and follow the same logic. If it's not, then it's probably, from my perspective, an L3 issue, even because it sounds like something that will require fetch integration as well as defining it in fetch. Does that make sense?
It does seem like this does block L2 if the core specifies it, though. I mean, this seems like a measure sort of lack of specified behavior, right? I mean, what?
Yeah.
Like 3 was pretty common, so like.
Yeah.
So we have 10 minutes. Do we want to tackle some of the nav timing? Anything that's burning on that particular stack?
So if we just 1 minute before we for resource timing, there's one extra test that is pending related to tau. It is testing the current behavior as defined and not the behavior that Anna would like it to be, which is the behavior that mirrors cores. But if someone could review that test and we could land it, that would be awesome.
Yeah, what is the test?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up. What's the question?
Sorry, I'm trying to. Is this the test redirection sandwich?
Yes.
Link?
Yeah. WPT pull request 13518. So
Okay.
it's testing what happens when you go from same origin to cross origin to same origin, basically.
Whom do we need to get sign off from, or who needs to review?
Maybe Nicholas can review, since we talked about this issue a bit when landing the PR. And we need to then convince Anna that even though it's not doing what he wants it to do, it's doing what the spec is currently saying that it should do. But yeah, once I'll have an LGTM, we can move on to that. And on navigation timing, we have I don't know if any of the issues here is super contentious. I think many of them are just work. So I guess the main question is if people sign up to tackle that. I said that I will tackle some of them, but that.
So I see 2 issues that need tests. Both of them are worker start, correct?
Yes.
Do these also require spec updates, or are these just tests?
I think it's just a test.
Okay.
I think the spec is already clear that it should be the last, because it resets it when it does another worker pet. The worker.
Which one are we talking about? The worker start should be
100?
clearly defined.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or do you think it's not properly defined?
I think there are some, we're missing some language there. So for worker start, I'm pretty sure we're not saying that it's gated by timing allow origin. So we should change the spec wording as well as edit test. But
yeah,
the
yeah.
spec wording change is the easy part. So the test is the part that's a bit more complex. Worker start should be clearly defined as applicable to the last service worker. Um, Again, I think that it's not currently like we should make both tests as well as the language stricter.
Mm.
And then we have Boris's issue about applying timing allow check to a document, where he is correct that we have refactored the timing allow check in resource timing to accept a request rather than a document, but we haven't updated the navigation timing piece, which is another data point as to why we probably wanna merge the two specs for L3.
What do we need to do for L2? Can we call to resource timing?
I think
I think we should just check if the document has a resource or somehow, right?
Yeah,
First,
we
and then
somehow reach from the document to its request, or hand wave our way from the document to its request, and then
right, but it may not have a request. So just if it doesn't have one, then just trivially pass the check, I guess.
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, and then just make sure that we pass, the right things to the timing allow check in resource timing. But yeah, if it doesn't have a request or it just trivially passes the test, seems like makes sense.
Okay, so it sounds like there's general agreement that something we can address.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm comfortable blocking L2 on that. And,
Okay.
yeah, and so we have this worker start, the context awareness, which I think is trivial once the performance timeline issue lands, right?
Yep.
And then secure connection start definition, which is just, I think, just wordings.
Okay, so it sounds like there's
Oh.
a few small things that we need to fix. The one thing I'm hearing though is that we don't have anyone in particular assigned or looking at these right now.
I can assign myself, but it will if I'm realistic, it won't happen until after BlinkOn. So if someone else is interested in tackling any of those, and any of them can be tackled separately, it will be highly appreciated. Okay. So yeah, it seems like I can assign myself, but it will happen towards I guess 3 or 4 weeks from now.
Okay. All right. So to recap, next design meeting we said is April 12th, 11. You'll send out a thread to the group for the face-to-face?
Yes, I will send out a thread regarding the face-to-face with preferred dates, but also see if
Yeah, we should do a call for topics.
Yeah.
To build an agenda for it.
Yeah.
Other than that, in the notes doc, there's a bunch of AIs that I've noted, so I'll tag folks in that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, awesome. So thanks, y'all, and I will see you next time.
See you, folks.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey.